G'day guys, welcome to the Centre Bounce. In today's video, we're talking North Melbourne versus St Kilda, the last practice match of the pre-season for both teams. Stay tuned. Joe, the pre-season's over. It's the last match, and I think this game, especially on the North Melbourne side, put up more questions than answers, and that's not what we want coming into the end of the preseason games.
Someone had to tell the players that this was the last practice game and that it was still a practice game. There was no need for that much feeling. There was no need for that much emotion, fights, and some ridiculous concussion as well. So this game had it all. It had some good footy. Had some crazy wind-affected footy. It had some melees. It had it all. It did not feel like a practice game at all. The crowd was getting into it as well. Very decent show out. So, yeah, you're right, man. This game, it was very tumultuous and a very interesting way to end the preseason.
Yeah, unfortunately, Jai Simkin got knocked out in like the first 5 minutes or so. Who was it, Webster? I think Webster's going to spend 10 weeks probably on the bench, hopefully not getting match payments and whatnot, because his snipe of Jai Simkin there was just not on, really. Similar to Pal Pepper a few weeks ago. But I think when one of your best players go down in that period of time, it can kind of swing you two ways, but, you can kind of feel really bad or feel really good. Like, you get revved up, that kind of thing, obviously not feeling good. But what it really does is it messes with the team dynamic as well. When you've got someone who generally gets your 30-plus possessions being knocked out, well, there goes those possessions and the structure that doesn't work. And I think we saw a little bit of that with North Melbourne earlier on. The players were just like, hey, what do I do? Like, I'm normally kicking to this person. So, yeah, what do you reckon about it, Joe?
It wasn't just the fact that he was concussed, because you can have innocent concussions. There's no doubt about it. Like, just in the passage of play, it is a contact sport. People trying to win the football, and or someone's trying to tackle someone, and then sort of like what happened with Jimby, for example, and Luke Jackson last week. It was just a simple trying to tackle him, clash of heads, and then bang, you got a concussion. But that's not what we saw here today. What we saw here today was one of the most stupid, inane sort of actions that I have seen in a football field for a while, especially with how much attention that has been there, how much awareness has been raised in terms of protecting players, having a duty of care to others. I don't know how many suspensions and tribunal hearings that we've had. He's seen what happened to Pal Pepper last week, and this Webster that belongs in the dumpster. That was horrific. Honestly, I hope an example is really made of him. He left the ground. He turned his shoulder. He honestly couldn't have done it any worse.
No, it was a clear. Anyone who watches it was a clear kind of target of the player, and just kind of what happened really. Jai Simkin hopefully comes back round one, and then we'll be pretty lucky there. Looking at the game itself, it's a little bit polarizing. We were talking before, and obviously in the previous episode, about Hawthorn and when the doggies come in and start scoring a lot of behinds, what happens? And that was kind of a bit of a tale with North Melbourne. St Kilda at the start, yes, it was very scrappy. It was 1-for-1. I think even at maybe half-time or quarter-time, North Melbourne were up. But then, kind of the key tools from St Kilda came on, and a few of the other players, and our defense definitely got exposed there. So it wasn't great. But if you look at North Melbourne's side, there's a couple of players playing off halfback who have 36 possessions each or 30-plus possessions each who, just kind of stole all the points because the ball was always there taking kickouts.
Yeah, Zack Fisher was one that we all sort of knew that he was going to move across, one that we were all keeping our eyes on. And the reason why, some of us were a bit slow to select him was because we were being cautious with the fact of you need to have some people defend, and you've got some people behind the ball over there. And we wanted to see how they coexisted. And Zack Fisher, in his last two games, has shown that he absolutely belongs at that halfback position. and that he's going to be locked in there. He provided a lot of run, a lot of dash, repeat efforts. Yes, he had some clangers, so it wasn't like it was a perfect game for him by any stretch, but he definitely, yes, he got some supply because obviously St Kilda were very inaccurate. 18 behinds is something that you're going to expect to see every week, but the role was rock solid.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Fisher he's in my team. There's no doubt about it. Fisher is now in my team. Yes, he's had a couple of those soft tissue injury concerns, but the thing with him is that if he stays fit, stays on the park, he's a top 6. And if he breaks down, I can literally trade him to anybody else that I want to. And it can be adjusted. And we've got 40 trades this year. The difference between picking a Fisher who's got injury history and someone like a Fife has got injury history is that if you're picking Fife not to be a keeper, you're picking Fife to be a moneymaker, whereas Fisher, you're picking to be a primo. And based on the role that we're going to have from him, he's worth the price. If he's going to be getting 36 disposals and getting 132 points for sub 400k, that is worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Yeah, I don't know if that level of scoring is going to be there every game. As I said at the start, right, there was 18 odd behinds, which meant that he was going to get there. But if you watch the game, outside of just the stats, he was there. Even Sheasel and McCurch and a few others just blatantly gave him the ball and said, hey, look, you run out. And a lot of the game plan definitely seemed to be get the ball from the back line as quick as you can to the forward line. And a lot of that was Zack Fisher just got the ball cool, just ran. And so a lot of his kickouts, he's not staying in the box and trying to kick it to someone like we've seen with a few other Supercoach, like relevant key defenders, whatever, who are taking kickouts. He ran and he would run and bounce the ball and do all these other things. So, yeah, Zack Fisher looked very, very good from the position. You're not going to get a 130 every week. Let's say if he comes in and averages you like a 105 and stays fit, that's it. And that's probably what you can expect if you take away all the behinds that were happening from St Kilda there.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, he's in the team for now. Sheasel, when it was flagged that this guy was going to be moved behind the ball and play behind the ball of half back, all of a sudden really became exactly what we wanted to see, because we know when he has that role, he is amazing to watch and he's a great contributor. And I felt like in the first half, he really wasn't particularly dominant, just sort of cruising. And really, it was in the second half, I feel, that he really started to lift his output, and he just looked incredible. A bunch of 1-2s, pushing higher up the ground. Sheasel is, for his price, more than happy to have him in my team, absolutely.
Yeah, I think Clarko came in at halftime and basically yelled at everyone and said, hey, Jai Simpkins being knocked out. What are you guys doing? Stop playing like idiots. You've got to turn it on and actually show that you want to be here. And yeah, Sheasel being the leader that he is, I think he's going to end up being one of North Melbourne's next captains alongside Nick Larkey. So, yeah, jumped in and helped push the team. Clear halfback role, as we've seen, and was pushing a little bit through the midfield. So, it's tricky, Joe. I think you got to pick him. And I've seen some teams, we'll talk about a few more players, but I've seen some teams today that have 6 North Melbourne players in this game in their Supercoach team to start, just because there's so much opportunity. Like, people say, hey, Big J, these guys can't do this every week, blah, blah, blah. And sure, but North Melbourne over the preseason lost 1,300 plus games of worth of experience. Like, the backline completely changed. The ruckman changed. Just the formation of the team itself changed with the players that are coming in. So there's opportunities across the board to secure Supercoach points. And it's even going to be higher. Like, when we get more competitive into games, look at how many people on St Kilda's team that scored 100 plus versus North Melbourne's. There's opportunities in the North Melbourne team to start scoring some more points as well.
Yeah. Look, St Kilda in this preseason have played both games very seriously. Against us and against you guys, St Kilda, there's no such thing as a practice game under Ross Lyon. So what we saw from St Kilda, I think, is going to be the exact same thing that we're going to see for the rest of the year. But North aren't at the same developmental level as where the Saints are. The Saints are playing for the now. North still obviously developing. So it's going to make sense that they're going to have more of the Supercoach scoring pie, especially as winners of the game. Tristan Xerri, he looked really good in the ruck against Rowan Marshall. A very respectable ruckman. And there's a reason why I had him in my very, very first team, and I wanted to go with a Tristan Xerri route. 99 points, if you don't mind.
He could probably get a bit more. It's helmet cherry. People were talking to him in the family day that happened yesterday. I think I took a photo with him and some other things as well. And he's basically going to keep the helmet on all year. He feels better with it. He's less worried about concussions, which means he can get into the game a bit more. Yes, he did give away 4 free kicks and got 5. So there is a bit of, disparity there. But him and Rowan Marshall basically went 1 for 1, which is very, very good. So, yeah, Rowan Marshall. Yeah, Rowan Marshall. Basically went 1 for 1. So if he can do this against Rowan Marshall in his, first hit out, really, of being the number 1 ruckman without someone else there, I'm not super worried. It's just about the fitness and keeping fit, which is the big thing. But did very well. People are going to be tempted to run him at R2.
Yep.
There is opportunity there, but it really depends on how Grundy goes in the first preseason, but in round 0.
Yeah, 100%. Bailey Scott, mate, 423k. This dude, 96 points. That's not too bad.
Yeah, another player who is running off the wings for North Melbourne alongside Stevens. Has done a bit of halfback as well, and there's a lot of players stealing points from Colby McKercher. Bailey Scott definitely did that today. Very, very solid player. I think he's more AFL fantasy relevant than Supercoach relevant because you won't get these scorings every week. I think that's probably one of his better scores, overall. But there has been some talk, Joe, in the preseason of, hey, Bailey Scott's kind of that sneaky player who's just, quietly getting better. Let me just quickly pull up his stats from last year. Yeah, so there were some 90s and there's a couple of 130s, but it's just not as consistent as what we want in Supercoach for the price. So yeah, especially it's like a midfield only option.
Yeah, exactly. Fair enough. This guy is not in the midfield.
No,
and I've flirted with him on my bench.
Yep,
in the forward line as well, and our viewers know by now that nothing turns us on more than a non-forward forward in the forward line, and especially if they're playing in the back line, taking some intercept marks here and there. So, mate, Biggie Nyuon, 87 Supercoach points. That is one beautiful fantasy to Supercoach ratio right there.
Yeah, I will kind of disclaimer North Melbourne's backline at the moment. Charlie Comben, who's basically coming in and going to key defender for us this year, had a ripper game in the VFL and looks to be playing round 1. And Aiden Core, who's been coming off injury, we've got a couple of weeks till round 1, probably comes in and takes a spot as well. So 1 or 2 of Biggie Nyuon, Pink, and Cal Dawson probably doesn't play. Maybe it's Cal Dawson given the poor form here, but Biggie Nyuon might not be taking the same role as what he does. Hopefully he does. But just saying that there are people coming in who are going to change things up a little bit, and it's not going to be as straightforward as, cool, we've got no one, pick Biggie, he's going to do really well. He had a great game, and I'm more impressed by the game that I see him in. Thanks, Muncherman, for giving us to us for free, and it's pick 65 or something, so it doesn't matter. So, yeah, really, really good game. Hopefully he's the one that stays, but maybe he goes down to back a 60 instead of an 87 type thing. But really athletic, can jump as well. So, yeah, good player.
For 123k, I mean, you could do worse.
Of course. Just hope he keeps the spot.
Correct. Zane Duursma, not one that we are going to have, I think, in terms of Supercoach relevance because of the role that he plays. But my word, he looked sensational.
He's a good player, hey. He's a good player.
He's a very
North
good
Melbourne,
player.
I think North Melbourne, if we keep him in the best 22, which it looks like he's going to be, he was basically robbed of a goal in the first quarter, I think it was, or the second quarter, where clear the umpire just didn't.
Yeah,
the umpire just didn't pay it. But if he starts playing well, I think Paul Curtis comes out of the side for Eddie Ford, who went big on the weekend, and we know how good of a player he is. North Melbourne might actually slowly have a forward line, Joe, and I'm quite excited about it. But you could see why Zane Duursma got picked up at pick 3. Pick 3 or pick 4. Yeah, one of the two, and why the guys like Hawthorn and a few of the other clubs were like, cool, if you let this kid go past, we're going to take them. So very, very happy with the selection.
Yeah, 100%. Very, very good. Toby Pink,
Yep.
One of those defender rookies that we've got potentially on the bench. Now, I was talking great Supercoach to fantasy ratio
It's not
before.
bad, hey? 28 to 70.
Excuse me? He almost tripled it. What the heck is this?
I think that's probably the best one. We'll have a look at the other guys maybe off air, but I think that's actually the best discrepancy. There's players who have done double, but there's not many players who have done a triple. And Toby Pink basically has done that. Was playing key defender, was taking intercept marks, looked quite good. There were a few of these North Melbourne players who I think he lined up on Philippou. Biggie Nyuon might have been on someone else. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, so Biggie Nyuon was on Philippou. Toby Pink was on Sharman. So we saw how good Sharman was as a marking target.
Yep.
And then Cal Dawson was on Ben King. So he gave away a couple of dodgy frees as well. So yeah, Toby Pink's a great player. Like he's a mature age recruit. Played through the Sandful, was basically voted best Sandful key defender. We know what we can get, but it's really just a makeup of, hey, what happens with Combat and what happens with Core when they come in. Some of these players have to move. Hopefully we get to play like 8 key defenders, but we're going to get slaughtered every week by everyone else. So, yeah, big watch and see, which is really sad because there's some real relevant players in Supercoach.
1 kick, 11 handballs.
He doesn't need kicks, Joe. He doesn't need kicks.
32 meters gained.
Yep. He doesn't need
I
kicks.
have not seen a meters gained that low in a very long time. He just takes a mark.
It's just 1%ers as well. Like just jumping up and knocking the ball out of the way and doing those things that don't generally end up on stat sheets. Like he wasn't tackling, didn't take kickouts, only took 1 mark and ended up on 70 points. Like you look at this stat sheet, hey, how did he end up on such high super coaching? Like, oh yeah, 1%ers in key possessions.
Correct. So that was really good. Toby Pink, well and truly on the radar. Charlie Lazaro, 181k mid-forward rookie. He wasn't clean with it. He was not clean with it. Really let himself down when it comes to the cleanliness of his disposal. But I think he showed enough that he's in and around it. He does get his hands on it. 21 disposals, 5 tackles, which is really good. Yeah, he had the 5 clangers, but I think this guy is worth selecting. Could be fieldable, but if you don't feel confident about it, he could be a nice mid-forward swing option on the bench as well. If you've got, for example, a Hustwaite at M8, this guy could be an M9. If you don't really want to risk, for example, like a Clark, who I think is very serviceable, but Lazaro, I liked him. He's in my team at the moment, Big J.
Yeah, I think with Taron Thomas, obviously what's happened with there, it's been well publicised. Don't need to talk about it much, but it does free up a spot for Lazaro. And the last couple of weeks, he has been doing quite well. This game obviously wasn't the best game, and similar to a lot of North Melbourne players today, I don't know what it is. I think we saw it last week as well, where they have this weird game plan that they try and push through in the first couple of quarters, and maybe it just takes them a little bit of time to get used to it, and that's why the second half's always better than the first half. So I think Lazaro lost a lot of points during that time and made up for it later on, but he's a valid selection. He should play every week, as you say, DPP. Maybe one of those slower burns, but he could have easily come out and scored at 85 today, and we'd both be pretty happy with it.
Yeah, 100%. If he was cleaner with his disposal, then he probably would have. Georgie boy, George Wardlaw.
Yeah. It was
line through him or not?
Nah, I don't think so. I don't think he's super coach relevant. I said this on other podcasts, and we've spoken about it before, about how I think he's going to be like what Matt Rowell was last year and what like Tom Green was a couple of years ago, where he's around that mark and will have big games, but have games where he does things like this. And yeah, just ends up kind of slow burning. And then next year he ends up becoming a super coach selection for us. 12 tackles. He was giving shit to Jack Steele, and Jack Steele was not happy about it. It was great to watch that kind of stuff. And yeah, just kind of did what he did. 4 free kicks. Imagine if he didn't get 4 free kicks. Like he'd be on 40 super coach points or something. So yeah, it is a bit of a hard one to swallow, but never really was relevant in Supercoach.
Yeah. I loved also when George Wardlaw, he was being tackled by Brad Hill and he just sort of like did a little shimmy, like as if he had like dandruff or something. Like he had like, and then all of a sudden you just see Brad Hill just come flying off him. Like that was hilarious. So Georgie Wardlaw is a gun. Now you mentioned this guy before, Kobe McCurcher. For one, I'm not concerned about him. I'm not. Because he's got the role and he's around the ball. He just wasn't really used as much today because other players were really dominant. It was a weird game today. They're playing at the super windy Moorabbin. I don't even know why they keep playing games at Moorabbin. It's a freaking whirlwind over there. It's like a wind tunnel thing. I don't know. Like, we struggled with it. You guys occasionally struggled with it as well today. Like, it's so stupid. So it was a different game. St Kilda were coming up for blood again. And Kobe just didn't have the game. Similar to like a Lazaro, didn't have the best game possible that he could have had before. So Powell didn't have a great game. Well, Phillips, was moved on to the ball after what happened to Sinkin. He didn't have a particularly good game either. Dawson didn't have a particularly good game. So it was a weird one today. And I can forgive these kids for having a rough one today, especially off the back of what he did last week.
Yeah. Unfortunately, in Supercoach, it all comes down to price and reward, right? I think Mccabe was named back pocket, and it really felt like he was stuck in the back pocket all game, kind of hence his scoring. He didn't miss out on a lot of points. Like, for a first-year rookie, cool, 78% is what you're going to expect. But Sheasel, Zack Fisher, all these other guys were playing like halfback, and then Colby Mccabe was there, like trying to fight for a possession. Basically, that's kind of how it felt for him a little bit. So something to watch out for if we've got someone else to come in and take those possessions, because I don't think he's going to play straight away mid, and I don't think he's going to come in and if Fisher and Sheasel are there, I think he gets pushed out a little bit. I can see why some people have jumped off, and we've spoken about Sam Berry as potentially being an option. There's a sneaky Riley Bonner for not much more expensive that could be better value for us over Mccabe this year.
That's a call. But Mccabe is going to get is most likely going to get DPP.
Oh, of course, yeah.
And Sheasel's so good with the ball in hand. He's so talented. Plus, when he was drafted, he was playing as a mid forward. You never know. Maybe Sheasel's the one who makes the move because he is so talented that he can be used as a mid forward, like what he was playing as a junior, just to allow Mccabe to find his feet. Because if he can't find his feet behind the ball, there's not going to be any chance of him really flourishing forward or center as well. So it could be that Sheasel's the one that's moved out, and Mccabe sort of stays back there. Regardless, I believe in this kid. He's a super talent. Likened a lot. He's taking action to Zach Merritt.
Yeah.
So I like him. I'll keep believing. Don't stop believing. I believe in my rookies, bro. I was defending Harley Reid last week. I'm defending Mccabe this week. If you any footballer out there, you want yourself a lawyer that's going to fight for your image and your name, give me a call, bro. Give me a call. Give me a call. Would you believe that no one did worse than LDU today than the guy who got concussed?
I know, right? I mean, maybe Caminiti and Collard, who played 10% in half a game each, but LDU just didn't look like he wanted to be there. It was just like, cool, yep, practice game, whatever. There was a bit of time during the game where he was teamed up on a few of the St Kilda players who maybe had like a bit of a go by him as well. Gave away 6 free kicks, so 6 free kicks, and just whatever. It's practice game, so he's going to scare a lot of people off. He did a similar thing in the preseason game last year where he scored a 70. Everyone jumped off and then went 150, 150. So there is worry for that if you guys are going to do that. But I can totally see why you would go, cool, LDU's out, maybe like a Zach Butters or maybe someone else in. It's just a bit sad. I would have liked to see him come in and smash like a Riley Bonner and a few of these other players today.
I still have him in my team.
Yep.
And I can't wait for a bunch of people to jump off him, having looked at this game and thinking, holy shit, this dude's a bust. Let's not pick him. I can't wait for his ownership to just go down and down and down. And then come the first few weeks and this guy just pops off and everyone's like, holy crap, we got sucked into the preseason games again. We got sucked into the preseason games again. What we've been telling people, don't do it. LDU is in my team because he's had 0 injury interruptions this preseason. And that is absolutely vital. I am very happy that LDU took it easy. He saw what happened to Simpkin, and he's like, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want these maniacs at St Kilda with their stick figure doodle as a jersey coming in and knocking me out. So I'm not going to do that. So LDU, well done. Fly under the radar. Don't give two shits about this game. Stay a pod for us. And then come season proper, you can pop off then and there. So well done, LDU. Very well done.
Yeah.
We then move.
Submarining a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Submarine. Just, he's here. Disappear. Don't remember LDU. Don't remember him. Riley Bonner was very memorable. This dude, 127 off halfback. He has been a revelation in these first two practice games.
Yeah, 2 games in a row kind of came out of nowhere. Was someone who got basically poached from Port Adelaide during the preseason, or at least the trade period, and has looked very, very impressive in the new team. He's playing a little bit of what you'd consider to be the Sinclair type role, with Sinclair not being out, so maybe that affects it a little bit when Sinclair comes back in. But mate, this guy, I can't tell if he's a trap or not a trap, because he just looks really good, Joe.
The bait has been put down. Riley Bonner with the big wind-up. And there it is. Maybe. The bait is out, and he's trying to reel in some people. Riley Bonner is a trap, ladies and gentlemen. Trap. It's a trap.
Clip it here. Clip it here, so we'll see what happens in a couple of weeks.
Riley Bonner is a trap. Don't do it. Cal Wilkie doing Cal Wilkie things. He's a great intercept player, a great lockdown player. Jack Steele. Now, this guy is a bit harder to read. He's not trapped like Bonner is, because Steele actually got the CBAs that he had before. So he's locked in the role. The role is good. He was getting tackles. 9 tackles. So that's good. It means that he's got confidence in his body to lay those tackles. Now it's the negatives. 5 kicks, 16 handballs. Okay. He's a handball-happy player. That's not very good. Second, the game was on the outside a lot today. And Jack Steele, I feel, very often was left behind and wasn't involved in any of those plays. He is very, very reliant on stoppage. And when it wasn't a stoppage, Steele was not involved at all. And it seems like St Kilda want to play a quick run and gun, less stoppage heavy game. And the last thing that I want to mention is that there was no Crouch. There was no Brad Crouch in the side. And when Crouch comes back in, there is no way on earth that Steele is going to be a top 15 midfielder. He just won't. With Crouch in the side, Steele can't score that much. Every year on year, that Crouch has been at St Kilda, we have seen a regression in Steele. And I anticipate that's going to be something similar. For his price, he'll give you decent output, but he ain't a keeper for the year.
Yeah, I really think so as well. It's tough. As I said, there's a lot more questions than answers in this game from Bonner, from Steele, a few of the North Melbourne players, guys like Wangani Miller are with Sinclair out. So, it's a no from me. I think it's either pick guys who are probably 40K to 50K cheaper in that position. Maybe run with those. If you think Steele can do it, all the luck to you. But as Joe says, 110 average, I don't know if that's going to cut it. It's a good price for like 520K. A 110 is fantastic. But it's a tough one, Joe.
9 tackles to get there. 9 tackles to get there. It's 9 tackles a game isn't sustainable. It's 9 tackles in one game is very impressive. He's not gonna be able to give you that every week, I don't think. But yeah, good game for Steele. If you want to pick him, you absolutely can. But I want you to sort of make sure that you have in mind that you understand that he's not going to be someone that you keep for the whole year. You're most likely going to flip him. You're picking him as a fallen primo, hopefully making some money, giving you some decent output until you flip him to someone else. Naz, as you mentioned, Big J, had a good game, but again, there was no Sinclair in that game.
Yeah.
Now, how does it look like then with Sinclair, Bonner, Nazaya? All these guys want the ball in their hands. Brad Hill wants the ball in his hands. So it becomes interesting. I think Showermaker is going to be the one that obviously cops the brunt of the fall, gets pushed out of the side. But I'm not entirely sure that all of these guys can all coexist and yield a top 8 defender score.
Yeah, I mean, like Jimmy Webster probably leaving the team for the next 12, 18 weeks, whatever the suspension's going to be. Probably affects quite a lot of their scoring as well. So maybe he comes in and, he leaves and some more things get shuffled around. You can see what Nazaya is going to be. Nazaya and Kadeem Coleman, the guys that we saw last year that we had picked up a year too early. You know what you're going to get out of those players. I just don't know if the 107 average is going to be there all the time. Maybe it will end up dropping a little bit. There are some space because he did have 4 clangers, so there is some space there potentially to make some more money or to make some more scoring. For me, it's a no, but people will jump on him. Those guys that will want a cheaper player will definitely say, hey, look, 475K, I can't afford a Hayden Young or aren't impressed with what I've seen. Get him in my team.
You know who else has to get in my team? Well, he already was in my team, but for those who don't have him in their team, get him in your teams. What the hell are you talking about?
Post down below, why don't you have Darcy Wilson? Like, he's not 100%. We saw how good he was today. The guy's not 100%. I'm going to quickly check what Darcy Wilson.
We've been talking about this guy all preseason, ever since ever since you spoke to Jakey from Saints TV, raving about this guy very early in the preseason. We've been talking this guy up like, holy shit, this guy is winning time trials. He's killing it on the track. They're raving reviews. Why is this guy not more highly owned? I have no idea.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing at the moment, isn't it? He's 51% owned. So half the competition has him. Hopefully the other half jumps on after watching this video and we get like 50 million likes. But yeah, we'll wait and see what happens with that. If you don't play Darcy Wilson, with DPP, can play in the forward defense on your field. Just looked fantastic. He was their best ranked player for majority of the game as well. So if you don't have him, you don't want to play Supercoaches. Basically.
Correct. If you don't play him, you don't play in Supercoach. Exactly. It is what it is. Rowan Marshall, I know we've seen some teams in the team reviews rocking with Rowan Marshall in the ruck, and we've said that that's perfectly fine. He obviously wasn't going all out today as well. Had to come off the ground a couple of times because he was bleeding from the head. I don't know what is up with those St Kilda medicos. They just couldn't wrap the bandage on properly.
It was tough. It was like one of these eye ones, like right on the side of your eye, and I think it must have just been like a scar that he had before. And sometimes these ones kind of come up. It's really hard to tape someone's eye, Joe. Maybe like a pirate style, like this. But I don't think he'd work that good as a ruckman if that happened. Was just super solid. 4 free kicks against, which obviously meant that his scoring wasn't that great. But I mean, he basically got not beat up, but was comparable to Tristan Xerri today, which I don't know how good that says for his scoring.
I think there'll definitely be an uptick in his scoring during the regular season, but I just don't think the value. I just don't think the value is there. The value that you get out of a Gawn and Grundy combination, I think at this point is still unmatched in terms of just pure value. I'm not talking about pure output, but in terms of the value, there's just not much value in the Rowan Marshall selection. Brad Hill did all right. Michino Owens, this guy is just so good. If only he got a bit more than this, it would be so good.
There's not much to say about it. I was really sad. Not owning him in Supercoach last year, he was scoring a lot higher. I think he regressed a bit in the second half of this game, or at least in the fourth quarter. He was on like 110 or something and then fell off a bit. Some poor disposals or some free kicks, that kind of thing. But very, very good player. They've got another one. He's going to end up, I think, rucking a little bit alongside Rowan Marshall. He's offering that. And when he's not, he was taking CBAs and getting contested possessions and tackling. And very, very good player. Breakout year alongside Nazaya and getting Coleman, those kind of things, I think.
They had Liam Henry, made his way across from Freo, very highly talented type of player. Not super coach relevant, but he showed his stuff again. Kicked a very nice goal as well. So welcome to St Kilda, Liam. But yeah, you're not super coach relevant. Ari Showmaker, he is a 117k rookie, so that could definitely, I suppose, pique people's interest. The question is whether he keeps his spot in the side. The Webster suspension definitely goes a long way to helping him stay, given that's one person's going to be out. If he's named in round 1, then that is really promising, I think.
Yeah, potentially. Big wait and see to see what happens. I haven't really considered him. Obviously, hadn't really played, I think, until today's game. So I'm only running 3 defender rookies at the moment. Where does he fit? That's probably the big considerations for me there.
If Caulfield doesn't get up, and if Pink doesn't get up,
well, I have
he
either
could be.
At the moment. So,
and if Phillips doesn't get up,
okay, well, Phillips, that's the big one. Yeah.
I had to think about your team
doesn't play. I need to swap out players, basically.
Correct, but more rookie options is better for us. Is all I'll say. And then Hugo Garcia was one that I, kept an eye on. Perhaps, hopefully, he was doing really well, but just didn't give us the same output that he gave us last week, unfortunately. So probably one that I'm not going to consider for my forward line.
Yeah, no, for me too. I think he did quite well in the first quarter, and then just jumped off, and obviously 70% game time, which isn't great.
And on that note, guys, that is our wrap up of the North Melbourne versus St Kilda practice game, the last practice game of the 2024 AFL Premiership preseason. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you really enjoyed it. If you did, please drop us a like, a subscription if you're new, and make sure to hit that notification bell to make sure that you don't miss out on any of our videos and live streams that we have during this preseason and during the season proper.
Guys, you've been with us for 18 or so videos, all the preseason games, checking out all the players and just showing us the love and the support. Been really thankful for that. And hopefully you guys can stick around for our stuff in round 0 and then heading on to the normal season as well.
Because we do have 2 competitions that are open right now for your entertainment and your viewing and your participation. That is, of course, our regular open league for Supercoach, where we have 3 wonderful prizes up for grabs, as well as our footy tipping competition also.
Guys, jump on. It's all free. Amazing prizes. Join a great community. We'll be here live streaming, most likely Monday nights at 7:30, and then the drive home, our new show on Thursdays, kind of when the team seats drop.
It's not very much a new show. Definitely it was.
That's true. I gave it a name.
But the name is new. The drive home is a new name, but definitely had a lot of people enjoying watching Big J drive home from work in the evening. Come ahead and join us. Have a look at the interior of his car and judge him on how clean it is. But other than that, we hope you enjoyed your videos today, as well as during this preseason. We look forward to seeing you in the season proper.
Guys, remember, here at the Centre Bounce, we do the hard work so you don't have to.